Meanwhile, China has reportedly suspended issuing short-term visas to Japanese. Reports say many Japanese tour agencies were informed about the new move, with some saying almost all kinds of visas have been suspended. This comes after Japan imposed tighter restrictions on travelers from Macau and China, including testing requirements. In other news, the city's minimum wage will rise from the previous $37.50 to $40, with the new rate taking effect starting on May the 1st. It is the first adjustment in the minimum wage in 4 years. Some in the catering industry said they are unable to make new hires because of the minimum wage and are concerned they won't be able to handle the increasing number of tourists as a result. Timothy Lee tells us more.
The minimum wage was first introduced 12 years ago in Hong Kong. The city's minimum wage is reviewed every 2 years and has increased from $28 per hour to the most recent $37.5. Endorsing a review from the Minimum Wage Commission, the Executive Council has approved raising the minimum wage to $40. That's an increase of $2.5 or 6.7%. The change will take effect on May 1st, Labor Day. The chairperson of the Minimum Wage Commission, Priscilla Wong, described the wage increase as a victory. During the earliest days of the minimum wage, around 180,000 residents were counted as recipients, but that number has dropped to just 14,000 people last year. Some representatives from the catering industry believe that the minimum wage is no longer effective in attracting potential employees, as the lowest common hourly pay in the restaurant sector is already around $60. This restaurant spokesperson said that work hours are long and holidays are uncommon in their line of work, so many people are unwilling to join the catering industry with a meager salary. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee said quarantine-free travel between Hong Kong and the mainland has been progressing smoothly. Speaking ahead of today's Executive Council meeting, Lee said that up to 40% of the daily quota of 50,000 travellers allocated for mainland travel remains available in the next 2 to 3 days. He noted that there are still some spots up for grabs in the few days leading to Lunar New Year's Eve. Currently, the number of visitors entering the mainland vastly outnumber those entering Hong Kong. Lee said the government will begin large-scale tourism promotions next month. Hong Kong reported 9,379 positive COVID cases today, the lowest daily tally since November 30th last year. Among the reported cases, 227 were imported. 19 residents and 1 staff member were infected across 17 elderly and disabled homes. 1,749 cases were reported by 774 schools. 75 more patients died from COVID. The Macau Government Tourism Office has rolled out new promotions to attract more visitors and boost tourism and its economy. Starting Friday, Hong Kong residents staying in the enclave overnight can enjoy a return journey for free. Nearly 30,000 tourists from the mainland and 6,000 travellers from Hong Kong headed to Macau on Monday. From Friday onwards, residents who bought bus or ferry tickets to Macau can return home for free, given they arrive and leave on different dates. Macau is also hoping to see a rise in tourist numbers with an array of Lunar New Year parades and fireworks display. The Executive Council has approved the MTR's Tung line extension. Construction will begin this year and is expected to be completed by 2029. The extension for the rail line was first proposed back in 2013. The project consists of the new Chung East and Chung West sections. One of the highlights will be the Chung West station, which will become the new terminal station of the Chung line. The journey times from Chung West station and Chung East station to Tsim Sha Tsui or Central are expected to be reduced by around 12 minutes and 21 minutes, respectively. Overseas now, Britain is facing more strikes by workers after meetings between ministers and trade unions failed to end the wave of industrial action across sectors from healthcare to transport. More than 10,000 ambulance staff are expected to walk out on Wednesday. Tracy Furness has more.
During British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's visit to a community health centre in Leeds in Northern England on Monday, he seemed upbeat about talks between ministers and trade unions.
Very nice to have you, Rishi. And on pay, we've always said that the government is happy to talk about pay demands and pay issues that are anchored in what's reasonable, what's responsible, what's affordable for the country.
But there was no breakthrough after talks failed to reach an agreement. Health Secretary Steve Barclay said there were small signs of progress, but no breakthrough. Unions Unite in Unison representing health workers condemned the government's approach. A union representative said the government's approach is wrong, that it wanted to discuss productivity savings in return for further pay rewards.
The government have missed yet another opportunity to put this right. We came here in good faith. What they want to talk about is productivity. Productivity, when our members are working 18-hour shifts, quite how you become more productive with that, I do not know.
Other ministers met with railway unions that have staged months of strikes, as well as teaching unions considering classroom walkouts. Britain is going through its biggest strike wave in decades, with airport baggage handlers, border staff, driving instructors, bus drivers and postal workers among those who have walked off their jobs in demand for higher pay. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida was in Paris on Monday at the start of a week-long trip to Europe and North America in the hope of improving ties. Kishida met French President Emmanuel Macron and became the first foreign leader to visit the Notre Dame Cathedral, which is being rebuilt after a major fire in 2019. Japan is hosting the Group of Seven summit this May, with France keen to develop its presence in the Indo-Pacific and deepen economic ties with Tokyo. The talks between the two leaders will also include the alliance between automakers Renault and Nissan and military support for Ukraine in its war against Russia. Kishida is also scheduled to visit Italy, Britain, Canada and the US. U.S. President Joe Biden and Mexico President Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador met in Mexico City on Monday, where they reaffirmed their commitment to address the root causes of migration. The meeting came as the two sides, along with Canada, are holding the first trilateral leaders summit since late 2021. This report from NBC News.
Facing mounting pressure over his handling of the growing migrant crisis, today President Biden met with Mexico's President Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador. The crucial talks ahead of a summit in Mexico City come just one day after President Biden's first trip to the southern border since taking office, where he met with officials in El Paso.
But they need a lot of resources, and we're going to get them for them.
And while he did not meet directly with migrants, he was met with criticism from all sides. Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott handed the president a letter blasting Mr. Biden's lax border policies for encouraging the migrant influx and arguing the visit came 2 years too late.
And that is the only reason why we have these people coming across the border like we do is because both the Homeland Security Secretary and the President are not enforcing current laws.
There were a record 2.6 million illegal border crossings last year. After President Biden left El Paso, the Border Patrol Union tweeting, "The photo op is over. Let the insanity resume."
Has the federal government done enough to prevent this?
To prevent, no. Absolutely not. They're trying to cover bullet wounds with Band-Aids.
Migrant advocates say the president's new immigration policy is still inhumane. That policy would expel to Mexico up to 30,000 migrants a month who unlawfully entered the U.S. from Nicaragua, Haiti, Cuba, and Venezuela. That's where Soria Edvi Rivero and her family are from. They shared with us images from their harrowing journey through the Panamanian jungle, clinging to the top of a train in Mexico to arrive here at an El Paso shelter.
What's your message for President Biden?
We want an opportunity to stay, she says. We are not delinquents. We are good people.
Two senior administration officials say the president did not meet with migrants here in El Paso because they'd already been processed at the facility he visited.
Mandatory evacuation orders were in place on Monday for 17 regions in California, including the entire town of Montecito, home to celebrities such as Oprah Winfrey and ex-royals Harry and Meghan. Montecito and nearby areas on the Santa Barbara coast have been lashed by a string of Pacific storms of late. Due to heightened flood and mudslide risks, residents have been told to evacuate their homes. The death toll from the relentless string of storms that began last week climbed from 12 to 14 on Monday. A new study shows that the ozone layer is continuing to heal slowly and could recover completely in just over 40 years. That's according to the United Nations, which carries out a scientific assessment every 4 years. Signs of healing were reported 4 years ago, but were only preliminary studies. Researchers said the new report has more solid numbers this time. The latest findings show the global average amount of ozone, about 30 kilometers above the Earth's surface, won't be back to 1980 levels until about 2040. Antarctica, which has a gaping hole in the ozone layer, won't be fully fixed until 2066. Ozone shields the planet from harmful radiation linked to skin cancer, cataracts, and crop damage. In 1987, every nation in the world agreed to stop producing chemicals that munch at the layer. The effort has been hailed as one of the biggest ecological victories for humanity. Back locally, with the launch of the first stage of quarantine-free travel between Hong Kong and the mainland, Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs Alice Mak said in a TVB program that youth exchange programs within the Greater Bay Area will resume soon.
Before the pandemic, in fact, we have been organizing all these exchange programs and visit tours and all these internship programs in GBA. When we resume the normal communication with our counterparts in the mainland, all these exchange and visits can be resumed. And I hope when young people, they have the chance to step on the cities in the mainland, and they can feel the working atmosphere there, and they can understand more about the culture and the working environment in the GBA. Our objective is to build up a platform for them to explore, to understand, to know more.
Mak added that in a bid to help the city's youngsters, the government's youth hostel program will provide both housing to the youth population as well as equip them with essential life and social skills. Today is the first day of the Hong Kong International Wine and Spirits Fair. While the fair does not open to the public, it is the first wine event of the city that brought back tasting sessions after a pause during the COVID pandemic. Mimosa Ngai has details.
After a 2-year suspension due to COVID, the city's International Wine and Spirits Fair is back in its physical form. There are wide-ranging alcoholic products at the fair, including sake, whiskey, wine, and Mau Tai. With the recent scrapping of most anti-COVID measures in Hong Kong, visitors can now taste wines at the scene. But the fair is only open to industry buyers and not the public. Some exhibitors said the event attracted a large number of potential international buyers, such as this Hungarian dessert wine booth.
Some from Malaysia, some from Taiwan, some even from Middle East.
He added that current COVID measures in the city means his business can benefit in the long term as traveling becomes easier.
With the kind of happenings in the last 3 years, we are really expecting that the opening of the borders and also more and more travelers from foreign countries into our city. So this is a very good start for everything.
Meanwhile, this Yunnan Red exhibitor, Phoenix Lee, hopes to raise awareness of her products, wine from Yunnan province in China, among Hong Kong people. Many exhibitors were pleased with the atmosphere at the fair, saying it was a good start to 2023. Mimosa Nai, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thanks for watching.